And we should now be recording. Has everyone seen that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so our first agenda item is really just to open things up for discussion and get a sense of how the program is working for everyone. If people have successes they'd like to share, challenges they'd like to share, just general feedback, we're kind of welcome to discuss anything.
Yeah,
Pretty
feel free
highly
to.
circulated over here in Ronan. It was a pretty big success. There's a lot of people that come in and use it over and over again, but there's also a bunch of new customers that come and use it.
That's
Great.
awesome.
Are you noticing any changes, any patterns, any shifts, as school gets back into session, that sort of thing?
We mainly never had any kids checking out the hotspots. It's mainly the people that can't afford, a plan or whatever. And so it's mostly older people that were getting it. So it's been pretty consistent and picking up steam as word gets around,
There's a
Great.
comment in the chat box from Carolyn down in Conrad that we've made the Hooterite colonies very happy.
Excellent.
Hi, this is Sarah and Sarah from Great Falls Public Library.
Hello.
Hi.
We're consistently very, very busy, and I agree about the Hooterite colonies. They love the hotspots. I think we currently have about 15 holds and everything checked out or being repaired or missing or lost, but super popular.
Great.
This is Anita over in the far eastern corner of the state. Thank you, Daniel, for replacing my hotspots, which the college confiscated from me as soon as we got them last spring, a year ago. And we let our students have them, and I absolutely could not get any of them back. So I contacted Daniel and he replaced them for me, and now they're getting checked out, and actually we're keeping statistics. Before, I did have a unique situation though. East of Brockton, there is no tower, so the person who took a hotspot to be able to use it over there, she homeschools, it powered up and everything was fine, and it told her no internet available. And so I was like, oh, is this so I called my IT guy and said, is this a possibility? And he said, yeah. He said, we had one north of Brockton too, that there's no tower available for them to bounce off of. So they aren't working everywhere. So anybody in the West that's got a lot of towers around where you've got lots of availability, you're really lucky, because we have lots of dead spots over in this part of the world.
And so that's like a dead area for both providers?
Well, we only have one provider, Niemont.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so, and I have T-Mobile, and they seem to work fine as long as we're in the towns or, close in, but out in the boonies, which there's a lot of boonies. It's been interesting and she does have a cell phone, and she was using the data on her cell phone, but her kids are homeschooled. So she said she used up all her data. So she wanted to hope the hotspot would help her get her kids. She finally just was in this morning and said she enrolled 3 of her kids in school. She has 7 kids. So she enrolled 3 of her kids into public school because they needed the access. So positive things and negative things, but I'm actually keeping track of them now instead of just handing them over to somebody else to take care of.
That's great.
Do you know, Anita, by chance, is Verizon coverage any better in your area? Because we could also provide some of those if you think they might work better.
Well, the only Verizon coverage that works here is if you have a Sydney, Montana prefix. And I actually live in Sydney and work up here during the week. And so I don't have any issues with my cell phone, but anybody that's come in from, I stay in a facility the college has during the week, and we have traveler nurses come in, and any of them that have Verizon or T-Mobile or any place, anything from anywhere else, their cell phones don't work. Email has really got, but they did make some kind of an agreement with the cell one originally, and then it moved to Verizon from Sydney. And so if you have a Sydney prefix, which is a 480 or 489 prefix, they work fine here. So, but no, the T-Mobiles have seemed to work except for these outliers.
Yeah, there's going to always be a few dead zones in Montana. If you travel around with a cell phone, you know they're out there. So till we have broader cell phone coverage, that's something not quite within our control, unfortunately.
Well, and Joe, I got my master's degree from Oklahoma, and I had more than one person in Oklahoma tell me they had a lot of dead places too. They probably are better now because that was 10, 15 years ago. But they were amazed at, they go down in a dip and they'd lose cell phone service and not have it for another half an hour, 45 minutes as they're driving around it. I know California is the same way, even though you should think California would be everywhere. We had dead places there too. So I just think it's just not quite the perfect service yet. Eventually, maybe we will be, and maybe we don't want to be. We don't want them tracking us from everywhere we go. But anyhow,
I know that's a big issue in the national parks, whether to put them in or not. There's some really good comments in the chat box. I just want to make sure everybody's seeing those. I mean, Crystal Buchanan had some really good points. You know, that's of things that are going on. A few teachers that had to go into quarantine and needed to use them so they could continue to get caught up on their schoolwork, and students also having going into quarantine. So that's an important service. New families that have moved to the area and waiting for their internet hookups, because all those things are taking longer. Quite a few of those are remote workers. So that's good to know that we're supporting remote work with this program. Also, our local chamber coordinated a local job fair recently and checked out some of these to provide free Wi-Fi for the event. And of course, homeschool families, we're hearing a lot of that. So I think this is great stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
seeing,
I like to hear that
Emily's talking about, Emily Wicks is saying that she's up at Fort Benton. Our clerk travels to a retirement community and nursing home and ended up using, one of them is being used by the library for the programs and services. And I'm sure so there are probably other libraries that are keeping one. There's one person was saying that Jody is saying her internet's been up and down lately. Mine has been too. Are you CenturyLink? Because that's the problem. Anyway, she's using it in the library just for workflows for the Montana Shared Catalog.
Great. And I see a question from Carmen Clark in Bozeman. Are stories being collected? And yes, in a couple of ways. We do have patron surveys that we've provided to libraries and asked patrons to fill out, and we get a lot of really, really great feedback from those, similar to a lot of the comments that everyone's putting in the chat right now. And then we also have a method for collecting feedback outside of those surveys. And I think maybe if you're hearing stories that aren't getting captured in those surveys, if you want to just forward them to us, to Daniel or me or to both of us, then we can keep a record of those as well.
Yeah, we love hearing all the good feedback and the variety of ways that they're being used. Like I particularly like hearing about non-traditional ways that they're helping out in communities, like the job fair sounds really interesting. And it's like providing internet at an event or getting internet out into a community, and it's really cool to see like how this is kind of changing how internet is being provided, and instead of just being something that an individual has to do, it's like a community, resource, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and we actually just got a very nice note passed along to us this morning, which hopefully you can all see on the screen right now. But this was from a Montana library patron who wrote this note to IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and thanking them for the radio ads and the hotspots. And that was passed along to us, and we just saw this morning and wanted to share it with everyone. But these types of stories are really very encouraging and just nice to see them and hear about how impactful the program is.
This is Anita again, and we don't get any Montana TV over in our part of the world. We have North Dakota TV, but we spent a week with our grandkids in Harlow, and the Billings Public Library, Montana State Library ads that they're running are amazing, and they ran all day long. I swear we were watching the Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal, and those on I think it must have been the CBS station, but they were running them like at least once an hour, a couple times an hour, and they are really good, guys. That's amazing. I wish we get Glendive, but we don't get any Montana ads from Glendive. All we get is the news and stuff. We don't, everything else is North Dakota based. So
Anita, when were you there? Just out of curiosity.
Right before Labor Day.
Oh, so recently.
Yeah.
Because we actually we paid for some advertising with the Montana Television Network a few months ago, but when we produced the ads, we also were hoping that they would continue to run as public service announcements for free. And so you're confirming that they are running, because we don't really get reports on when the public service ads run for
They're
free.
showing them now, Joe. They're still showing them.
Well, that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's Billings Public Libraries Foundation that's part of the sponsor. So, with the TV stations coming out of Billings, that makes perfect sense. It's amazing, guys. I was really impressed. And of course, it shows the beautiful Billings Library as part of the deal. And
actually, it's Laurel Public Library.
Was it Laurel? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not Billings. But the Billings Foundation kind of helped us find the producers for that and kind of smooth the way for us we don't have anybody at our staff who is full-time into marketing. So, Tracy knew some folks at the foundation in Billings that had done some stuff. And so that's how we kind of got those started. But I thought they did a good job too. The producers seemed to really catch on to the message we were trying to send out. I'm glad that people Nancy Schmidt, she's the star.
With a flash from the past, we were watching Positively Montana on Sunday mornings, and Sarah was on there. Sarah Groves was on there the other day, which promoting whatever program she works for now. And I was like, oh my God, I know that woman. That's Sarah. And I thought, oh, that's really cool, because that's the only Montana stuff we really get is that Positively Montana on Sunday mornings. So
we do have all of those video spots available if anybody would like to just put them up on their social media or add them to your website or something. We do have those available. So I'll go. John, maybe you can find the link for I should have brought that up there I
think it's right there on the page, the Vimeo. If you click that, John,
right.
He's got it on the, it's on our front page on our website at the MSL library.
Okay.
And then there's like different lengths. So there's the minute-long one and then the 30-second one.
All right, here, I'll just drop this link in the chat.
Yep. So you can just, if you want to help us cross promote on your Facebook page or Twitter and just pop one of these in every once in a while, that would be great too. It says, Crystal says she's promoted with local flyers, social media, lots of verbal conversations with patrons, and also took time to call local schools and let them know. That is a great idea. But she said most people started asking once the video commercials started up. Well, that was one of the things we wanted to ask about today, is whether you noticed any uptick or if people have mentioned, because we've had video ads and radio ads. And I just want to add, I think that Nancy Schmidt could be a hand model based on, she's lovely. She did such a good job.
It's like Crystal says that a lot of people heard about the video ads.
Yep. And Jody's saying they had just had a woman staying at the KOA and found out about the hotspot programs from an ad. Good. Well, the whole purpose of the ads was not necessarily to inundate you with requests, but to just make people aware that how amazing libraries are, that you do more than just books. You do great at books. Daniel Ray is saying ours have been increasing quite a bit. We've also had many extra hotspots through a grant, and there's always a dozen or so on hold. Oh, Sarah said their hold list grew tremendously. Oh, Caleb asked about the Chico retreat, and I can give you a quick update. That has been canceled and is being replaced with a online poster session that Mitch in Lewistown. No, Livingston. I always get those two mixed up. Is planning. Caleb, I'll try to find the information on that and send it to you. Lori said she just had the conversation about how great public libraries are with a group of college students today. It's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, there's a lot of services that libraries provide that people forget about,
This
have to
is
say-
again, in this COVID world, we pulled movies, so our statistics have gone through the bottom because movies were our biggest circulation. Well, with all these people getting internet and getting Roku and getting all of these things, they're not using the movie. We just haven't put them back out because I don't want to go through the cleaning process that you have to go through to get a movie back out. And so our statistics are mostly using computers, the wireless, the hotspots, and people are actually checking out books, which is a new and different thing because we've gotten a lot of new books and we got a lot of new audio and they're actually using that. Plus they use, I think, Montana Library to go a lot. So it's been, but yeah, I don't know about the rest of you guys. If you're all wide open, we kind of restricted. We did have summer reading and we're still kind of saying you can't hang out in here if you're not working on something. And I don't know if the rest of the public libraries are doing the same kinds of things, or I just, I'm still a little, and we now have Delta here. So we kind of are being, yeah, and we have to be masked too. I see Caleb just said masked, and we were mandated masks already the 1st of August. And so when we're meeting with anybody, but it's been good. People are not bucking it. If I say you need a mask, they go find a mask and come back. So.
This is Abby Dooley from the Library up in Polson. So we received some money from our county to purchase more hotspots on our own. And so I have to go out, and figure out which company to use. And I was curious why the state library didn't use AT&T, because it looks like they have a pretty good coverage area on the map anyway. Just curious about that.
That's a great question. And my memory is probably a little imperfect at this point. So others, please jump in if you can. But if I remember right, one of our concerns was with content filtering. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of our devices were purchased from T-Mobile, because they provide SIPA compliant content filtering at no additional charge. And AT&T, I believe, could do it, but there was a charge associated with it. And I think that was one of the reasons. And then I would have to look, honestly, back at our notes and look at the specific data plans and costs that were offered by AT&T. I know at the time we kind of weighed the options and decided that Verizon and T-Mobile would work best for us, but I don't remember all of the specific reasons why we chose not to go with AT&T. But I could look back at some of our notes.
I think T-Mobile offered us the best deal by far, as far as hotspots and data and all that other kind of stuff. 'Cause they were eager to get into the state and, make an impact and that kind of thing. And so then it was kind of between Verizon and AT&T. And as I recall, AT&T's data plans weren't, like their unlimiteds weren't as great of a deal, or, or they were charging more for their hotspots. And, so I think, we definitely looked at them and weighed them and just went with, and I think probably as far as statewide coverage, Verizon is much better than AT&T as far as statewide, region by region, it differs, but.
And I also saw that there might be possibility we could get state pricing. There was a link about that. Can you guys talk about that a little bit more? How that works?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I wanted to mention that. What I would suggest is it is possible, but I really encourage you to contact the State Procurement Bureau. And I believe we have their email address on our website. Let me bring that up and make sure that's correct. Yeah, so that is right here. It is possible. I think there are a couple prerequisites that need to be met. And so that's why I really recommend contacting the State Procurement Bureau at this email right here, coop.purchasing@mt.gov. I believe that your local government, city or county, needs to have an agreement in place with the state in order to utilize those statewide contracts. And so I would just, again, encourage you to contact the State Procurement Bureau and see if that's the case, and also just discuss with them any other conditions that need to be met. But hopefully you can use those contracts. Again, I just can't say for sure whether any specific library or county or city is eligible to, but hopefully you can. And so I just encourage you to contact them and get their guidance on that.
Hi, this is Carmen from Bozeman. I have a quick question concerning, and maybe this is not the place to ask, I don't know. I think it's more of a shared catalog thing. So if patrons are looking in the catalog and they're typing in hotspot, right now it says there are 61 holds on the hotspots. Meanwhile, we have maybe like 3 or 4 actually in the library, and you would only find that if you scroll down, through all the hotspots. So I'm wondering, number one, if there's anything to be done about that, and number 2, because that's like a huge turnoff for patrons, like if you're looking for a hotspot and it says there's 61 holds on it, so that means you're going to get it in 2 months or something or whatever. At least that's what my my impression is. And or what other libraries do to circumvent that. Like, do you have a sign in the library that says hotspots available today? Or I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a better way to have them available, the few that we have. Any ideas?
This is Tracy. Let me message the MSC staff and ask them, because I think basically what you're saying is there any way to make the results bring the available ones up first, right, Carmen?
Well, yeah, I mean, since it's a shared catalog thing and everybody has the same, a hotspot is a hotspot, but I mean, my hotspot is not ever going to go anywhere else, like I'm not sharing it with Belgrade or Three Forks or whatever.
Right.
In that respect, it's a little misleading, I think. So that was my thought. If we could I don't know, even maybe not even have that say it like that. It says there's 61 holes right now, but I don't know. I don't know how that works. So,
Well, let me ask them, Carmen,
Okay.
if they reply back, I'll let you know.
okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Oh, it's good to actually, I'm glad you brought it up, Carmen. I'm not sure we really realized that it's displaying that way. The first I'd heard of it, so.
Yeah, it is. And it's really frustrating actually.
Well,
yeah.
now that we know, I mean, we'll see if MSC staff can come up with a way, since we know they don't circulate between libraries.
Right.
And they are kind of special. I know that there's once they know about a problem, see if we can get them to come up with something that's better. Has anybody else noticed that? I mean, I suppose it'd be helpful to know if it was just the way it's displaying in Bozeman.
Is she
You
on the
guys-
shared catalog or is she using Enterprise? Because on Enterprise, you can choose your library that you're at and then it'll show on there and then it won't show it'll like the holds. I don't know, but I have not run into it on the shared catalog.
Well,
somebody said something in the chat about shadowing them, so I don't know. I'm new to this job, people, so help me. I mean, that would be great if we could somehow make them disappear, that would be great.
Virtually disappear, not
Yes,
really.
I mean, not disappear, but just so people don't see them.
Well, let's see what we can figure out. And Tracy's going to talk to the MSC staff and
Awesome.
we'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carly's saying that in workflows, you can shadow those other records and that hides them from the patrons in Enterprise. I don't know what that means either, but maybe chat with Carly and then maybe that's something we might need to share more widely with people, just some instructions on how to do that.
So one thing we had on the agenda for a little bit later in the meeting was discussing successes and challenges and sharing best practices. And I wonder, since we're kind of discussing some of those things right now, I wonder if we could just segue into that topic. And I know one thing I'd be interested in hearing from libraries is how you're handling overdue and late and missing items. Because I think that's a challenge that's been hard to address and hard to solve in some cases. So I think it would be good to hear any best practices that libraries have developed for addressing overdue items.
This is Sarah and Sarah from Great Falls. And we have kind of a unique nightmarish situation here. I don't know, maybe it's not unique, but we allow patrons to check out hotspots for 28 days. And then when they show up on the overdue list, we were shutting them off at 2 days overdue or 3 days overdue. And we found that created a lot of extra work for us because then we have to return. So we are not shutting them off until they're 14 days overdue, which seems like a bit much, but we have found that we're not turning as many off and having to turn them back on, giving that little window for people. So that's been one thing, but the hard part is we have almost 35 devices that have never come back. I think we have like 70 devices and half of them have never returned. So that's been a struggle for us, is trying to find ways to get back the items I know some people have talked about going to, like, your library card has to be set and in good standings for 3 months before allowing somebody to check out. We don't do that. We allow them to get a card and check out Hotspot and those. And I'll just tell you, generally, the ones that are not returning are folks that are in that category that have checked them, like gotten a new card, and then have not brought them back. So we've talked a lot about it. We will probably never go to a in good standing for 3 months before people can check them out, but that isn't because we're not wanting to. It's just different philosophies throughout the building on how we should do that, but because we don't do that for anything else. But everything else isn't such a high priced item, so I don't really know. It's very frustrating though. Sarah and I probably spend a good 10 hours a week on Hotspots, and it's very frustrating. I mean, and before I kick them, like before I get to that 14 days, I'm calling them to ask them to please return it before I have to shut them off. And unfortunately, some of the places we've had the most trouble because we can't renew our items, or we aren't allowing them to renew because our hold list is so long. So one of the problem areas, although the hood rates really do love the devices, they are one of the problem areas and trying to get them to return the devices in a timely fashion. So some of the things we've seen.
This is Anita. We have the same thing with new patrons. It doesn't matter what they're checking out. It seems like if they've just come in, got a card, they walk off with our brand new stuff and we never see them again. One of the things I did, I used to work at Sydney Library long years, I mean, like over 30 years ago. And what we finally did was go to the county attorney and have them give us letterhead paper and sign the letter and send these letters. And there was no threat involved. It was just a letter from the county attorney. And as soon as people saw that letterhead, and it said, please return your materials or you may be prosecuted for theft or whatever. They actually started bringing stuff back. And back in those days, it was just books. You know, we didn't have movies. We didn't have hardly any audio or anything, but it actually did work. Now, I don't know nowadays if it would work or not, because people are not nearly as threatened by police as they once were, but it did work. And most of them had never been contacted by the county attorney. They just got that nice letter from there. They let us, print the letters out and fold them up and put them in envelopes and everything. All he did was we took them over and had him sign them all, or had their secretary stamp them, or whatever they did with them. And so it might be something to think about if you actually have a working relationship with somebody at the county attorney's office.
Okay, and it looks like there are a couple comments in the chat from Caleb. Overdue is $5 for every day until return or a deal is struck with library director. This $5 a day is added on top of the $100 fine for replacement. This goes for other devices too, the HP laptops and iPads. The amount for replacement changes, but the same $5 a day is applied. The end price of fines is negotiated between director, assistant director, and patron. And I guess just on the topic of replacement costs and things, I hope everyone knows at this point, but we are able to replace lost or missing devices, hotspots at least, not the laptops or the iPads. Those have all been distributed at this point. But we do have a budget for replacing hotspots that are determined to be permanently lost, and we have a process for doing that. So if that is ever the case, please just let us know, and we can provide a replacement for you as soon as possible. But I understand that it is also time consuming to try to manage missing and overdue items. So if there are ways to reduce that and minimize the staff time spent on it, we'd like to hear suggestions.
I see a message. Oh, go ahead.
This is Sarah from Great Falls again. My question is there a chance that there's like a disable before the shut off? Like, so we could disable it so it quits working before we go to such a permanent option as to have you guys shut it off? Is there anything like that?
I don't think so. I think that if you want to stop the data service, it has to be put on the suspension list. So there's not really like an intermediary way. We were investigating other ways of managing that, but a lot of them were just going to make things more complicated too. Like there was an MDM management idea that we were looking into, but it was going to add another layer of complication that we didn't think was necessary. I would say, like, I understand why it's a lot of work, especially for Great Falls, since you have so many devices. But if you can send me the device that you would like to shut it off, I can get it done that day. And that's, I think, has worked for a lot of libraries. And I was going to say there was a message from Lori Roberts that she's missing one. I can see. I can look up any device and see the data usage at any time, and you just need to send me an email with some of the identification numbers, and I can look that up for you whenever you want, and I'm always available. So if you have a question about any of your devices that are provided by the MSL, just please send me an email. So that's shutting them off, getting them reactivated, seeing what's going on. I can look into connectivity issues to see like if they're not working for some reason. And then replacements too, like so if something is lost, I can get those ordered for you guys. And yeah, like Sarah says, it is kind of a tedious thing when you have a bunch to do at once, but it seems like that does tend to work. And when somebody is not getting any data off it, it's like, why hold on to it? You know, it's not really a valuable thing in and of itself. I mean, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and we'll keep brainstorming about this too. And if we can come up with some better methods, we will definitely reach out to libraries and let them know about that. It looks like Crystal mentioned another challenge and success. Some of our tech-resistant patrons have even started asking for these to overcome frustration for patrons and staff. We have our staff go through on turning them on, going through menus, and how to get these to talk to their devices before they leave the library. That sounds like a great idea. And I wonder, are other libraries doing something similar to that? Carly mentions she's pleased with how easy they are to use. I guess along the lines of challenges and successes, Daniel prepared an FAQ document that might be helpful. And I think he's kind of identified some common troubleshooting needs. And Daniel, if you want to just run through that, that would be really helpful.
I noticed that there were a couple of questions I was getting that weren't on our website yet. So I just compiled some of those into a new list. And I think I got a bunch of emails about data limits, because I think the T-Mobile Franklin ones, they have this unfortunate screen that shows you've reached, I think it's 20 gigabytes in your data plan or something like that. And I don't know how to disable that screen or to take it off. I think it's just part of how that hotspot model works, but it shouldn't affect any of the service on those models. Like all of the data plans that we've purchased are all unlimited. The only factor that would start to slow down speeds that I've been told by T-Mobile is if a device has used a significant amount of data during a billing cycle, which is going to be like hundreds of gigabytes. And at that point, it would be deprioritized, which means that it simply would, if a tower or area is getting a lot of usage at a time, that device's requests would just be put lower on the list. So it might be slower, but it wouldn't stop. So if your patron is saying, hey, my device isn't working, it's not because of a data limit, it's something else going on. And you can just say you need to bring it back in, or you can just email me the device that they're talking about and I can look into it and see if there's actually something going on. It could be that device is broken or that there's a tower down, with the fires that's happened. But it's not because of data limits. There's no data limits. What's next? Oh yeah, so this is the covering the suspensions. And I put this on the list because I realize that Sarah said it's a pain to do, but I do recommend getting your overdue devices suspended as soon as possible. And all that requires is to just send me an email saying this device is overdue. Can you please suspend it for me? And I can get that done that day. And that'll make the device like a useless thing. And your patrons, they'll just be like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. I should bring it back. And then the minute it gets back into your inventory, you can just send me another email and I can turn it right back on for you. And it's pretty easy process. And then my email's right there. So I just need to have at least one or two of the identifying numbers of your hotspot, which would be either the mobile number or the SIM card number or the IMEI number that device has. And if you don't know any of those numbers, you can just send me an email too, because I have a list of all of the ones that are at each of our participating libraries. So I can send you a list of all the ones that I have on record for you guys if you don't have that information. The next one is the factory reset instructions. And this is basically like like we were saying, these devices are pretty simple things. So usually when something's going wrong with them, it's just because the settings have gotten screwed up or something in it, the software has had a bug, and you just have to reset it. And that usually like 90% of the time will clear up the connection issues with it. And each model has a slightly different way of doing it. They're all pretty easy and intuitive if you've ever used any kind of gadget. And on this fact, I've just put little brief instructions to how to do each model. It's usually just pushing down a button for a couple of seconds. And then we've added links to the support pages for each provider, which will give more detailed instructions if you want that. And then the last one is kind of going into another topic, which is we want to provide accessories, or we're trying to gauge the need for accessories because we do have a budget to purchase a limited amount of them. And our plan is to provide USB cables, some cases, wall chargers, and I've prepared a little order form that I've had uploaded to our website. This is the order form right there that John's showing now. Yeah, so I put it right on the front page of our website. So if you feel like you guys need some more accessories like these, I know a lot of I've had a couple of emails about people like saying the devices get returned with no charger, or the charger stops working or something like that. And then also the cases are just kind of good things if you guys are having trying to find a solution to keep everything all contained. Just download this form from our website and fill it out with your information and the amount of each accessory you would like. I think right now we're trying to well, we'll see how much we can provide. So I think this is going to gauge like what the need is. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to see how many of each device we can purchase and send out to the libraries. So it's just download the form, fill it out, and then email it to me. I think I put my email in the chat too, but it should be on that form itself. And then I think I put the October 31st as the deadline to get those in. So I think that's, if anybody has any questions about that.
Carmen has a question about where I see that where we're going to find the FAQ Document.
The document, I'm gonna have it uploaded. It should be up there soon. It'll
Okay,
be on the
that's what John said in
FAQ
the chat too. Yeah. Sorry,
page,
just
yeah.
missed that.
It is also available too as an attachment on this meeting invite. I added it there yesterday, so hopefully everyone got it that way as well. But it will be up on the website soon.
Yeah, once it's on the website, it'll be under the existing hotspot program facts on the table of contents. It should be after that link. Oh, looks like it just got updated. It's there now. Cool. Thanks, Amelia. Real-time changes.
Where, Daniel, real quick, which page
So
is
you
it on?
click
I can show
under the
everyone real
table of
quick.
contents,
Mhm.
hotspot program facts.
Oh, perfect.
And there it is.
Great. Good timing.
Yeah. Did anybody have any questions about what I just spoke on?
I think there was a question from Carly. Is it okay to order a charger just in case to have as an extra or only for replacement? And I guess I would say that's okay if you have, you know, based on past experience, if you have an estimate of what you think you may need to replace in the, you know, year ahead, year and a quarter ahead, please just submit a request and we'll meet as many of these as we can. We do have a limited budget, but hopefully we're not going to need to replace chargers and cables for every hotspot, hopefully just a few. So please just submit your request based on what your anticipated need is, and we will do our best to meet it. And that does kind of remind me of one thing we wanted to mention, and we think everyone hopefully knows this already, but the program has been extended until the end of December of next year of 2022. So that is about, I guess, 15 more months at this point. So just kind of keep that in mind if you expect to need replacement items or accessories. Please just let us know and we'll try to meet those needs.
Yeah, and then, you know, I'm still going to be trying to get those for you as they go missing as needed. So if you say, oh, our charger's gone, I can try to see what I can do to find a replacement for you. And I think that's all I had to talk about on those things.
Daniel, I think maybe while we're on the topic, I know one of our agenda items was to gather suggestions for improvement to the support offered by MSL. So if anyone has any suggestions or just questions about the best way to submit requests or ask for assistance, this would be a good time for that.
Yeah, for example, like Sarah was saying that doing the suspensions is a lot of work. I don't know if there's any way to make that easier for you guys. Oh, thank you. I guess I just wanted to see if there was anything that I could do that I wasn't already doing that would make your jobs easier, because I know that keeping track of a whole bunch of numbers and things like that is a pain.
I have a question for you, since I have you.
Yeah.
I have one hotspot that's very strange and it connects just fine, but it says, "Hi, we're glad to see you. You probably want to activate your device." And then it tries to take me to the website to activate, but it never goes anywhere. It just spins and spins and spins. Have you seen that before? And
Does it actually give you data eventually, or is it just not do that?
No, it just spins until.
Okay. Well, that sounds like it's ones that's not activated properly. So can you send me the SIM card or the IMEI for that device?
Sure,
Yeah, I just need to get that to it's a T-Mobile, right?
right.
Yeah. I just need to get that to them, and then they can put the right associated. It sounds like that device has not been associated with the data plan correctly.
Okay.
It's probably one of the ones I sent to you as a replacement, because that's what happens when you get a replacement and then it's not actually on the data plan. And yeah, I don't know what it is about the T9s, but apparently the automated process they set up for that doesn't work anymore. So I have to like call the representatives directly and have them do it for us.
All right. Thank you.
I will tell you, our patrons are, quite a few of them are much happier with the Verizon jetpacks than they are with the T-Mobile ones. They say they stream better, they give better signal. I mean, those are really we've had several of our Hutterite colonies that have asked us to not give them the two. We don't give them a choice. It's whatever comes available first. And so they have asked us to not give them the T-Mobile ones because the jetpack ones work so much better.
Is that something that is across the board? Does anybody else have? Sounds like, yeah, the Verizon ones are more popular.
Yeah, I think that is consistent with some other feedback we've
Yeah.
gotten over the
It might
course
have
of
to
the
do with
program.
the coverage in the state right now. I know T-Mobile's working on expanding their coverage map, but it also might be I think some of the devices are older for T-Mobile, but
Does Verizon charge us for the jetpacks? Or do they include those with the?
Well, I'll let Daniel address this because he's been working on this a lot.
yeah, well, it's an interesting thing because they provide them as part of the data plan. So they and there's also an interesting, like, depending on what you're classified as. So we are currently classified, I think, we're classified as first responders, John, is that right? They're giving us some deal.
Well, we're eligible for a public safety pricing.
So we get the devices comes with the plan. So for each number that we add, we get a device with it. And then when we're doing the replacements, Verizon has been giving us a device as long as we sign up for another year of service. So those are for existing lines, though we're not adding new lines. So at the moment, hasn't been a charge for that. I think once we reach the point where the program is going to be less than a year, where we have left for funding, then we'll have to start just paying for the devices up front when we get more replacements after that point, because we won't have the time to do a year contract anymore.
Yeah. And with T-Mobile, we're paying $90 for each replacement, although the initial device we get comes at no cost with the plan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're running pretty short on time. Thank you, everyone. This has been a really rich discussion, and we appreciate it. A couple of things I think we just wanted to highlight briefly before we wrap up. We are currently trying to extend the program into a few counties that are not currently participating. And so that's something that Daniel has started working on, reaching out to the school districts there to try to provide devices to the schools. But if anyone does have suggestions for reaching some of the counties not currently participating, perhaps if you're in a neighboring county and have some ideas for extending service, we would definitely love to hear from you if you have ideas or suggestions. And I know that Joe was really interested, and we're all interested in gathering some feedback about the advertising we've done and any impacts that you've noticed, whether it's led to increased requests for the hotspots. If you have suggestions for how the ads were created and their impact. If you want to just send those to us over email, that would be great. If you have any feedback on those, we'd appreciate it.
Feedback and it ended up getting covered fairly early today, my questions. So
Okay.
I'm always interested in, like, I didn't know, frankly, that the TV ads were still running as well as they are. So that was really great information. I don't watch network TV, so I don't get to see them. But I'd also be really interested in hearing if you're letting me know if you happen to hear a radio ad, because those are also available as public service announcements right now. And I would suggest, if you have a relationship with your local radio station, or your, if you have a cable station that would like to run the TV ads, you can feel free to share them with them directly. You don't need to ask our permission. They were all created in the public domain. They belong to everybody. So feel free.
Great. I actually did have one last request briefly. There's a librarian who wasn't able to join today, but was wondering about the HP laptops and any type of security software or malware protection programs that other libraries are using on those. So we don't need to take the time to discuss it now, but if anyone does have suggestions, I know they all have deep freeze installed on them, but if librarians have installed anything else that you would suggest, if you wouldn't mind just sending me a quick email about that, I will pass that along. So thanks, everyone. Does anyone have any last questions before we wrap up?
Hey, John, maybe we could just ask when people want to meet again. I mean, last time we kind of said we'll figure something out for the fall, and here we are, but is it helpful to meet more often?
Yeah, great question. Well, I might suggest maybe in a few months, maybe January, something like that.
Sounds good. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, feel free to email them to me. That's kind of one of what I'm here for too. So if you have anything that comes to mind after the meeting, or anything that comes to mind 2 weeks after the meeting, just send me an email.
Great. Well, thanks so much, everyone. We really enjoyed meeting and hearing about how the program's going. So thank you. All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, those are pretty cool, Caleb. So we'll have to look into those.